Yes. Good morning, my friends. UFC 274, Justin Gaethje versus Charles Oliveira. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker. We are here. Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, baby. 15 fights, 9 of which are favored to end inside the distance. We will start with the first fight of the night at 135 pounds. We've got Journey Newson coming in at plus 100, taking on Fernie-Garcia. Wow. Fernie-Garcia, the 14th, or actually 15th fighter out of Fortis MMA coming in to the UFC's Octagon, taking on a Journey Newson who, I got to be honest, he is a bit underrated here. The odds are closing. Journey Newson originally opened at around plus 150. Newson reminds me of a giant version of John Dodson. Newson has the ability to get in and get out of the pocket, land that heavy overhand right. As we know, Dodson, southpaw. Newson, more conventional fighter with a ground game. Fernie-Garcia is going to look to engage in the pocket, coming off of the shine of a Contender Series matchup victory. I don't trust Garcia in this spot. First fight of the night, UFC Octagon, jitters possibly in play. My pick is going to be Journey Newson. I believe that he has not only the power here, but he also has a better ground game if it gets there. Garcia has talked about his wrestling background. I'd like to see that in action here against Newson. I don't think it's going to play a pivotal role in this bout. Newson is going to be my pick as a plus 100 underdog. Next up, second bout of the night, where we have Lupita Godinez taking Ivanov-De Lima. She's got the guns. She's got the muscularity. She's got the thick neck. She's got what can you say? She has a number of physical advantages here, but the gun show does not necessarily win you a fight. Carnelossi, tough as nails, has TKO victories under her belt, doesn't necessarily have the volume that could potentially cause Godinez problems. Godinez, the more competent striker. Carnelossi, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Godinez, in my eyes, better wrestler here, though. What is she going to do with it after she gets the fight to the mat? That's my question. I think that she may rinse and repeat takedowns here for some time. Godinez, how much of that gas tank is going to be spent? Godinez, in my eyes, has the better gas tank, is the better counter striker as well. Look for Carnelossi to try to close distance and Godinez to land some heavy counter strikes. Godinez does not have many finishes on her resume. I see Godinez by decision in play here, and I'll be picking Godinez. Issue I have with this fight is if Godinez is put on her back against the black belt and Carnelossi, how is that going to play out? Does Godinez have the get-up game in play? I'll be picking Godinez to win in that spot, though. Next up, where we have a Contender Series, somebody who came out of Contender Series with some big shine, Clayton Rodrigues. Rodrigues is a very versatile fighter, has a ground game to speak of, has the range management that I like to see. CJ Vergara, coming off of the loss to Ode Osborne. Ode Osborne was lucky to skate out with a victory in that spot. Vergara is somebody who is a tough fighter who shines late in fights. He's going to have to surprise Clayton early in this spot. Vergara plus 265. I'll be rolling with the favorite here. Rodrigues should come out here and showcase his abilities. There's more wrinkles to his game that we have yet to see. Take a look at Rodrigues inside the distance. I know this is a flyweight matchup, but I have a feeling you watch Rodrigues that end of the third round on his Contender Series bout, still had a lot in the tank. Give me Rodrigues to win inside the distance. Next up, where we have a local fighter in Tracy Cortez fighting out of Fight Ready, coming in as a minus 135 betting favorite, taking on Melissa Gatto. Melissa Gatto plus 105 underdog at the betting window. Interesting spot here where we know that Cortez has the wrestling ability. She can burn time in top position. We've seen that happen in many of her bouts. She seems to be a fish out of water on the feet. The 10 pounds that she cut last time out, dropping the weight class, didn't seem to bode well for her. She's back here again at 125 pounds. Interesting. I actually like her better up at bantamweight. She can muscle girls around. Here, she can get exposed on the feet, and I have a feeling that may happen here the longer the fight goes against Melissa Gatto. Melissa Gatto is she's a bit of a wild woman. You can't count her out. The Eubanks fight, she has a lot in the tank, and I'll be picking Melissa Gatto in this fight as an underdog. I see the line has continued to close here. And Cortez, yes, she has the wrestling ability. Yes, she can. I'll be honest. One of the most frustrating things to watch is if you bet on a fighter and they get stuck on the bottom. That could potentially happen to Rose Namajunas later on in the bout. Later on in the card, we'll talk a little bit more about that in more detail. But in this spot, Cortez could potentially out wrestle Melissa Gatto. But I see at some points during the fight, Gatto should be able to shine here. And this fight is expected to go to a decision. It wouldn't surprise me to see Gatto get a finish on the feet late. Give me Gatto at plus 105. Next bout where we have, the ageless wonder, Francisco Trinaldo taking on Danny Roberts. This is a highly volatile matchup here. Roberts, we know he has had some chin issues, been cracked a number of times. Also back to the Claudio Silva fight where he made some bonehead decisions there. Francisco Trinaldo is a fighter who, for the most part, you can trust that he's going to come out and fight hard for your money. 170 pounds, typically used to seeing him fight at lightweight. Looked great on the scales. Roberts, rangier fighter, more dynamic striker. Francisco Trinaldo, it's amazing how he's had such a long career and has been able to succeed doing the same thing over and over again. Not many folks have been able to figure him out. Danny Roberts, larger octagon here. I see he could potentially get cracked and get put out, but I'll be picking him to win. I think that the age discrepancy, the mileage on Trinaldo, and also the deeper this fight goes, Roberts should shine. So give me Roberts at minus 110. Next up, where we have heavyweights here, we got Blagoy Ivanov taking on Marcos Rogerio-De Lima. Rogerio-De Lima plus 115 underdog. Interesting spot. You look at this card, and this is one of the stay away fights for me. Marcos Rogerio-De Lima is a quick starter, will look to land leg kicks and empty the gas tank early. Ivanov is a survivor out there in many different facets. We've heard about his trials and tribulations outside of the octagon, but tough as nails, fighting out of Extreme Couture, and has been in there. You look at the training room with Ngannou, and there have been other fighters who have tested his chin, and he's come out of the other side many times. I'll be picking Ivanov here. I think that he has he's steady as he goes. That's one of my themes here for Blagoy Ivanov. You can trust what you're going to get out of him. He doesn't do anything in spectacular fashion, but he has a knack for hanging in fights, and that's where he could potentially be a difference maker the longer this fight goes. So give me Blagoy Ivanov in that matchup. Oh, next, let's talk about Brandon Royval versus Matt Schnell. But first, we're going to say good morning to Donald Rocket. Good morning, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here. We also have another viewer here. Blagoy all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. All right, so let's get back to Brandon Royval versus Matt Schnell. We've got a flyweight matchup here. Both of these fighters made weight. Cheers to Matt Schnell for making weight. Another Fortis MMA fighter taking on Factory X here. Colorado. Brandon Royval, first time fighting in front of a crowd in quite some time under the bright lights in Phoenix, Arizona. It is going to be mayhem out there. Now, Schnell, in my eyes, has to really thread a needle in this spot. He likes to touch and go. We know that his chin seems to be an issue in some spots. What I've heard in previous interviews, Brandon Royval said that he's going to bring the fight to Schnell. So Schnell's got to know that's coming, going to try and pick him off as Royval closes distance. And Royval wants chaos. That's where he shines. That's where he's won many a fight, and that's what makes him who he is. Royval taken down 8 times against Rogerio Bontorin last time out, but Bontorin could not get the win there. Royval refusal to accept any position, will fight tooth and nail, has really yet to be stopped via strikes. If you consider the TKO victory by Moreno, there was a shoulder dislocation during that bout, but hard to put Royval out. I will be picking Brandon Royval here. I believe that the longer this fight goes, the more probability there is to Royval getting a finish. Matt Schnell, prone to making mistakes in fights. We've seen him end up face first on the canvas. And Royval, both of these fighters have a decent ground game, but the thing about Royval is he shines in transitions, and I believe Royval has a shot at winning this fight via decision and also winning this fight inside the distance. So Brandon Royval is going to be my pick, and I'm going to come out and say that Royval is one of my favorite fighters on the roster. Just the way that he fights. There are 2 instances that really shine this year. Julian Erosa and his fight against Peterson, the way he was able to dig deep and land that late takedown. And also Brandon Royval and his comeback victory versus Rogerio Bontorin. The strength of schedule, the way that it's very difficult. It's a very difficult task to fight a perfect fight against Brandon Royval. He just keeps coming. So next up, we have Macy Chiasson taking on Norma Dumont. Norma Dumont, one of 2 fighters to miss weight. There are 28 out of 30 fighters on this card made weight, and Norma Dumont was one who missed. Minus 220 at the betting window. Chiasson, plus 180 underdog. Another Fortis MMA fighter. This card is littered with Fortis MMA fighters. Chiasson has not improved from fight to fight. I've mentioned that on other podcasts. The Raquel Pennington bout came in at 148.5 pounds, made weight this time out. And I don't like what I see out of Chiasson based beyond the physical attributes. She's enormous for the division. She has heavy punching power, but beyond that, the cardio comes into play, the lack of a get-up game, and she may not need that here against Norma Dumont, who's not known for her ground game. But in this spot, Norma Dumont, more competent technical striker, and I like what I've seen from Norma Dumont. The only issue is the Megan Anderson fight is cause for concern. So this is a fight I'm going to be staying away from, but I'm going to be picking Norma Dumont to get the victory here. Next up, we head to the welterweight division where we have Randy Brown taking on Chaos Williams. Interesting bout here where Randy Brown is now sitting at minus 110. He was could be had last week for plus 115-ish. Chaos Williams is a power puncher who believes in his abilities, and you can't count him out. 15 minutes, he can go pretty hard, but the thing about Chaos Williams is if he can't get that power punch to land, he will lose significant stretches of minutes. And Randy Brown here has the better ground game. He is the more technically sound fighter, can throw a wide variety of strikes, and has a submission game that Chaos Williams should make himself aware of. Williams, if I'm playing this fight, it's either Randy Brown money line at plus money or Chaos Williams to win by knockout. I think that you may be in a good spot if you hedge there. Chaos Williams is going to have to thread somewhat of a needle here to get this victory if he needs to land that one knockout blow. Randy Brown, I'll be picking him to win in this spot. I believe if you look at his losses and the way he's lost, granted, his chin has looked suspect in a couple of his bouts, but other than those two instances, he's really shined. I was at his bout against Matt Dwyer when he broke into the UFC in 2016. Impressed there. He's quick, man, and he can find your back too. So give me Randy Brown. Would not surprise me to see him lock up a submission in this spot. You could also see Randy Brown winning via decision, but don't count out Chaos Williams and his knockout power. He has the ability to do that, and he also has surrounded himself with some quality teammates. Wow. All right. We've got a banger of a fight up next where we have Andre Fialho making the return, a quick return against Cameron VanCamp. And wow, you look at the icy stare down that took place here. Cameron VanCamp has this way about him when he's fighting, he will smile at his opponents. Even after he locks up a submission or wins via TKO, he will continue to smile at his opponents. Massive inside of the octagon, but just because you're big doesn't mean you're going to win the fight. Fialho has fight-ending power wherever it goes, and I like Fialho here, the Sanford MMA fighter. I was watching Cameron VanCamp's fights throughout the years, and this is someone who is a bit of a size bully here, who is going to try to get this fight to the mat where he could potentially lock up get the body lock going and then hunt for the back of Fialho, hunt for that neck. But man, Fialho has heavy hands, and the way he was able to torch Miguel Baeza last time out. And also, you look up and down this guy's resume and throughout the fight footage, he's a highlight reel in action. And Fialho minus 440, I don't feel comfortable paying that price. But if you're looking at Fialho inside the distance, I think that's a much better place to be. At one point, that line was sitting at minus 165. And Fialho, he's going to be my pick to win. I don't see this fight going all 3 rounds. Let's see. We've got somebody says Randy Brown just styled on Jared Gooden, who's arguably the better fighter and has the exact same props or proportions as Chaos. Yep. Morning, Kyle. Pleasure to see you. MMA oddsbreaker brethren in the house here. Evan, let's cash those tickets. So let's get back to this Fialho fight here against VanCamp. Interesting spot. Fialho is he's a killer. He's a killer. And I saw his fight. I remember when he fought on PFL and he took on Glyco Franca, who was on all of the sauce. You look at the physique of Glyco Franca in that bout, and he hung in there, man. Fialho's going to be my pick here, and I see him winning this fight in devastating fashion and getting the crowd on their feet. Next up, we have Donald Cerrone taking on Joe Lauzon in a Legends bout. Now, I've noticed that a few folks out here have put some hate on the main card and a few of the fights here, that a few of these fighters are washed, etc. But what I'd like to get off my chest is that you don't walk into the UFC as a legend. You have to put your time in, pay your dues, and get there. And Donald Cerrone and Joe Lauzon, both of these fighters have paid their dues big time. They've shed a lot of blood. They've open up a lot of scar tissue. And in this bout, we may see that happen once again. Donald Cerrone is coming in as a minus 180 favorite. He's going to be my pick. Joe Lauzon plus 150 hasn't been active. Beat a Jonathan Pierce who had to move up a weight class a few years ago and basically ragdolled him. If you want to see somebody suffer a significant shoulder injury, that bout was, he was planning. I remember hearing Pierce wanting to go hunting right after that bout and drive back home to Tennessee or wherever he was fighting out of a number of years ago. And there was a pretty brutal injury that was sustained there. And then you look at Pierce's turnaround. He moved to Fight Ready and has some great things going for him. But in this specific spot, Joe Lauzon, he's going to have to lock up a submission early or catch Donald Cerrone, because Cerrone in this spot, you look at the way he was at weigh-ins, both fighters made lightweight too. That's something to speak of, because Cerrone was fighting at welterweight for a few years prior to this matchup. And I see the longer this fight goes, Cerrone should be able to get going, get on his horse, no pun intended here, and beat down Joe Lauzon. Inside the distance is going to be on the table here for Cerrone. I see this fight not going the distance, and fight doesn't go the distance was sitting around minus 210-ish, or it is right now. At one point it was in the minus 160s. I don't see this fight going the distance. I think that a doctor stoppage is in play here, and somebody is probably going to end up bleeding all over the canvas. If you want to watch an exciting matchup, go back to Joe Lauzon, Jim Miller, first time they fought. Even the second time they fought. Great fights. I'll be picking Cerrone in this spot. Now, we want to continue to talk about legends here. Let's talk about Mauricio Shogun Rua, who's taking on Ovince St. Preux. Shogun has come out and said that he only has, he wants one more fight after this. OSP looked like he had some trouble making weight. They had to bust out the tent for him to get inside of on the scales here. OSP should come out sharp for the first couple of minutes, and then it would not surprise me to see the wheels fall off for OSP if he meets some adversity. We've seen that happen a number of times throughout his career. Shogun can turn up for short bursts, and that's what he's going to have to do here against OSP, who's OSP. I've not going out of my way to play OSP as a minus 250 betting favorite versus anybody. Shogun, in my eyes, is live here, despite looking like he's fallen off of a cliff a number of times. The loss to Paul Craig last time out, the injury sustained in that fight, is cause for concern. I don't have any plays on this fight. I do see this fight ending inside the distance. And by the way, 9 out of 15 bouts here are favored to end inside the distance. Let me know, folks. Is that a high number or a low number? Do you expect more finishes than 9 on this specific card? I think that's a possibility here. So give me Shogun to win in spectacular fashion. I think that he is worthy of consideration if you're playing DraftKings. Take a look at that price. And let's hope for a Shogun victory here. It's incredible to watch the trajectory of his career and how he's been at this for 20 years, basically. There are videos out there of him going to war, blood and guts, life and death in people's living rooms. That I'll try to find that video later today. So give me Shogun in that spot, the legend. Let's see what we got here. Martin is saying Cerrone by decision finish. Oh, yeah. No action, minus 125 is a steal. Yep, that is something to look at. Let's see. So let's continue this journey, my friends, where we have Michael Chandler taking on Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, when was the last time we've seen him as a plus 200 or higher fighter? This is someone who, I mean, I remember attempting to fade him when they were lining him up to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. I wish we would have seen that fight play out, but the MMA gods have they work in mysterious ways, and here we are, Michael Chandler minus 375 betting favorite in a spot where you watch Tony Ferguson, and if he's able to survive, and that's one thing about him, man, it's tough to finish Tony Ferguson. He was in a really rough spot against Charles Oliveira. He was put in some tough spots against Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje was able to get the finish, but it wasn't like Ferguson was unconscious on the canvas. He was still moving around. Granted, he didn't look like he knew where he was, but Michael Chandler is going to probably come out here and look to spark Tony Ferguson in front of a sold-out crowd in Phoenix. Michael Chandler has a tendency, if he can't get you out of there quickly, early, I wonder if the wheels are going to fall off here against Ferguson late. Ferguson loves to turn a tide in the middle of fights, loves to slice people open with elbow slicing and dicing here. I would love to see Tony Ferguson have a comeback victory here with blood splattered all over the octagon. Would not shock me, because that's what has made him great throughout the years. Now, Ferguson has mentioned during these pre-fight interviews that he wants to get Michael Chandler, get him extended so that we get beyond that ego and he's going to break. Chandler came in here to the UFC with a head of steam. I knew how great Michael Chandler was prior to the UFC. We cashed on him against Hooker, and there have been other spots where Chandler has shined. I'll be picking Michael Chandler to win. I think that if he does this, he gets it done inside the distance, though I would not be surprised to see Tony Ferguson extend Michael Chandler and pull out a victory here. That's what I'll be pulling for. I don't have a play on this fight, but I'll be pulling for Tony Ferguson to win this. The pick's going to be Michael Chandler, though. Hard to not pay attention to what's been happening. The way that Ferguson has been degrading. It is clear the Dariush fight, that wasn't the same Tony Ferguson that we've seen. Even the Anthony Pettis fight, he had to overcome some adversity in that spot too. Granted, he came in off of that knee surgery, quick return. But let's get Michael Chandler extended, and then Ferguson becomes live here. I'd love to see the crowd on its feet as this fight starts the third round. By the way, I wish this fight was 5 rounds. Yeah, give me Chandler, though. Yes, it is Tony time. Let's go. I would love to see. Let's go, Tony Ferguson. Hey, Mike, appreciate your work. Let's go, Ferguson. Favorite fighter. Yes. Oof. I can't wait. You know what? That fight is going to be worth the price of admission for this. If you're watching on pay-per-view or you are inside of the building. Now, first of the title fights here, where we have Rose Namajunas taking on Carla Esparza, rematch of a fight that took place a number of years ago, and Carla Esparza was able to have her way in the grappling department. Now, this fight does start on the feet, and each round will start on the feet. And Carla Esparza is going to look to ground Rose Namajunas early and often. I could see that happening. We've also seen it in the Yan Xiaonan fight that Esparza has added some finishing ability to her game. She looks like she's in phenomenal shape. This is her time to shine. She's getting married in the following weekend after this fight. Namajunas fights out of a great camp and has Trevor Whitman in her corner, who the way he's been able to help Justin Gaethje it has been remarkable. And in this spot, Namajunas, I'll be honest, larger octagon here, the movement, the striking ability of Namajunas, there are big discrepancies in skill set in a number of areas here. You've got Namajunas, who is the much better striker, and you have Carla Esparza, who's the much better wrestler. Now, who's going to win out in that spot? We're also up against the clock here too. How much is that going to wear on Carla Esparza in this bout? Now, I see Esparza having early success grounding Namajunas first round. see her attempting to lock up a submission. She could get her out of there. If I'm playing Carla Esparza, I'm playing her inside the distance. I don't think she's going to have the gas tank to go 5 hard rounds. Namajunas, we've seen her go 5 hard rounds before. We've seen her even in the Weili Zhang fight. I thought Weili Zhang took that bout. It was very close, very close. But Namajunas is live the longer the fight goes, and if she's able to work her way back to the feet, which I could see happening. This is a fight I haven't made a play on because I see it playing out in a few different scenarios, and I was hoping we get a plus 200 number on Carla Esparza. It doesn't appear that is happening unless it happens in the hours leading up to fight time. This fight is expected to go to a decision, but I'm going to be picking Rose to win here. I see the championship mindset, the younger fighter, the fighter who has the clear striking edge, and the movement here, the footwork. That is a huge component of this matchup, and we're not hearing much about it. But if Namajunas is able to focus on her footwork, that's where she wins this fight. She's going to have to work very hard to do that, though, because Carla Esparza is one tough cookie. No pun intended, my friends. Rose Namajunas is going to be the play or the pick. Next up, main event of the evening, where we have Charles Oliveira taking on Justin Gaethje. Everyone saw yesterday what happened on the scale. Oliveira missed weight and then was given an hour, and basically what likely happened was he sweat himself out and made that cut, and then just didn't, he was so depleted. It's tough to start sweating again after you've made that cut and you're on weight. Apparently he was on weight on multiple scales, and then steps on the UFC scale and misses, and had nothing left to cut. Interesting spot. I don't think that's going to affect the outcome of the fight much, but I will say that the deeper this fight goes, Oliveira will likely have less in the tank than he would. And this fight wasn't expected to go to decision in the first place. I'd line fight doesn't go the distance here at minus 900-ish. Gaethje is a marauder who doesn't care at all what's coming back at him. He's going to try his best to crowd Oliveira and work his body and land a kill shot. Oliveira has many, many, many more ways to win this fight than Justin Gaethje does. Oliveira has to make himself aware of these leg kicks. That's one thing that could change the complexion of this fight early. Oliveira, you look at the way Justin Gaethje was able to walk down Edson Barbosa. I don't see that happening. I don't see Oliveira taking a step back at all in this matchup. I think both of these worlds are going to collide here. Gaethje could potentially land a kill shot. We know that Oliveira has been... It's interesting. He took some straight punches from Dustin Gaethje, some from Dustin Poirier, some pretty strong straight punches and combinations. He took them on the chin. Now, Gaethje throws heavy hooks, and he's going to have to close distance to land those hooks. Man, I think what changes the complexion of this fight is the leg kicks, and I also believe that Oliveira has the ability, if he is able to, he could win this fight without landing a single strike. He could lock up a submission here by transitioning to the back. But how is he going to get there? That's the thing. It's a tough fight to call. One of the reasons I haven't gone out of my way to make a play on one side here, but I am banking on violence here. Charles Oliveira, he's going to be my pick to win. They're hanging a plus number at plus 100 at Charles Oliveira to win inside the distance. And man, that is a number I continue to eye up here. Justin Gaethje has some of the most atrocious striking defense in the sport, does not move his head, does not care what's coming back at him. He will take it and then thinks he has enough to overwhelm his opponents. So Oliveira, the submission game, the diversity in skill set, taking on Gaethje, who really needs to break down Oliveira and could come out here and look to push the envelope. The crowd is going to be a factor. The missed weight by Oliveira, the belt not being on the line, all things to, not being on the line for Oliveira. Those are things to consider here. I think that Oliveira is the more dangerous fighter here. He has a multitude of ways to win this fight. And yes, he could get chopped down. Yes, he could get knocked out, but I'll be picking Oliveira here. Let's take a look at some of the comments here. Okay, we have a number of comments here. We see Oliveira by knockout. I could see that happen. That was in the plus 700s, so that would not surprise me. Justin has, yes, his fight IQ, he's willing to take the kitchen sink and then dish it out. And how many times have we seen Justin Gaethje on Queer Street? Michael Johnson had him almost out of there. Imagine the career trajectory if Michael Johnson was able to get him out of there. Gaethje by KO. That's the way he does it if he wins. Here we go. So let's see what else we got here. Marcus says, if you were Dana White, who would you book to fight for the official 155 title if Charles wins? Ooh, man. Sarukian is somebody who's climbing that ladder. Let's see Sarukian get through Gamrot, and he would be my dark horse. I'd like to see him get in there. All right, let's see. If Gaethje gets rocked. All right. Gaethje gets rocked all the time. Yep, it's true. It's true. All right, so I'd like to personally thank everybody for tuning in today. Remember, go get what's yours. And heed the advice of long-term tracked winners. Make sure to do your due diligence and do the third-party work. Do the independent homework as well. Go get what's yours. Let's do this. Big fight day today. This is why we do what we do, baby. It's fight day. We rolling!